Monday Artspace, and this week I thought we would look at Fauvism, which was an art movement in the early 1900s, around 1905, and it was founded by André Derain and Henri Matisse. And Fauvism emphasised bright, expressive colour in paintings of just ordinary subject matter. So what you could see, a landscape or a view out your window, but it was all about simplifying the form, so no details, and experimenting with colour. And realism was not at the forefront of the Fauvist approach. The term fauve means wild beast in French, and the painters who painted in this way were called this because their approach to painting was so uncontrolled and untamed compared to art that preceded it. Fauvism is all about freedom and expression through colour. So at the moment we all need a bit of freedom, don't we? And we're all locked up like wild beasts. So I just thought it was a nice, fun, relaxed approach to art, and I just love this art movement. And not all Fauves painted the same way, so it's worth an investigation into different techniques. So for example, Matisse would lay down big block of colour, whereas André Derain would use these short little things. So as you can see, I have experimented this week in Fauvism. So yeah, you've got the Matisse block colours here, and you've got the short little brush strokes of Derain and other Fauvist artists. Okay, so what they would do is take the image, just a real subject matter, but as I say, they would change the colour to be unnatural to that subject matter. So you'd have like orange skies, red rivers, bright blue and green houses, and a lot of the Fauvist painters, if we zoom in here, would just leave all these raw, wild brush strokes and unblended paintwork here, and then they would go in and only outline certain aspects of the painting in either a black or a dark navy blue, just to accentuate some bits but not everything, so it didn't become like a cartoony type painting. So if we look at this bottom one here, this is a watercolour version, so there's only certain areas that are outlined and all the rest are still free and full of colour, and the same in this one here. So I've got a simple little technique which it just warms you up really for you doing your free colour experimentation, and it's really a cute little way to just loosen yourself up really. So you can either draw out an image yourself, or I just simply find an image on Google Images or a photograph you have from like a vacation or whatever, and then enlarge it and print it off in black and white, but I've put a yellow tone on because if you paint as well with the oil and acrylic paints or any paint you're going to paint, a yellow base colour on your paper is much better than white, because once Fauvism, if you see the brush strokes, some of the undercolour comes through from the base background paper, and it's better to be coloured rather than white. So lay a yellow background first, and then you can either paint on top of that, which is fine, but these dark colours will darken your colours, or you can lighten it so you can just see the outline of the image you want. And then we simply just experiment with colour. So we're trying to be out of the ordinary, right? So really I should be starting with my let me just get a bit of this sky. So I'm going to go in, like I said, with a bright orange sky, and this is done with watercolour, but you can do it with oil and acrylic if you have them at home, and you just go in really wild and don't worry about, we're not interested in detail, we're just interested about the freedom of colour. So we just dab it on and leave spaces like so with the watercolour technique. Obviously if you've got the thicker paint you can paint on top, you can change things. So we just do this kind of technique. So I'll just do little bits of this painting so you can see. Then I'm going to go in with a different colour to go in between these white bits to fill it in, and that's the kind of blob technique we're looking at there. So if you can see that on the, you see that? Yeah, so go in between the trees there. So that's the sort of sky you'd do, and you'd fill in the areas there. Then you'd move on to the house. So I think I'll go for, yeah, a bright blue house. So, and then we don't want any details. A good idea for making it pale, lighter, is you don't get hung up on the details then. So we just need to get a nice bright blue, and it's all about solid bright colour, no toning, no whites or blacks. It's just straight from the tube paint or straight from the palette paint, and paint it on. And then when you've got these little marks, if you zoom in there, we want to leave all these little different marks, heavy and light areas. And you can, as I say, if you leave some white bits or you miss a bit, it's better if it's yellow underneath rather than white. And we basically paint over this painting, this picture, like so. Let me just carry on doing it. Forget the detail. Most detail you should be having in your drawings is the windows or doorways, but no brickwork. Or you can give the impression of brickwork by your paintwork, but we don't want any serious sort of lined brickwork going on. We just want it all nice and free, and it's all about freedom. It's all about loosening up, having fun, and experiment with colours. Okay, so there, so as you can see, it's coming on. So I've got this little roof now, so I'm going to go for a bright red roof there, and it's contrasting colours work well together, or complementary colours. Just experiment. There's no rule. There's no colour that can't go on. There's no colour that can't go on where you don't want it to go on. You just experiment where you want to put the colour. And it doesn't matter if it needs to be raw, it needs to be wild, it needs to be free. That's what we're looking for. So we're going for nice bright yellow. So just, yeah, have a go at doing that. They download the picture, but as I say, you can draw out your own image. And then what I'd do is I'd just use a darker colour to do the little doorways and windows. And it's quite nice, this effect, because you get some of the ink from the photograph coming through, which just gives it a bit more interest, really. So just nice and free and loose. So you can get the impression what's coming on there. And then right at the end, I would just go in, like I said, with black and just outline just certain areas you want outlining with your black. Nice and sharp like so. And yeah, so, and then just fill it in that way. So you can see how it's coming on there. And these bits I would leave, because these are lovely, where you've got the different depth of colour, and then it goes lighter in some parts. So if you turn back to the other pictures here, you can see all the different, this is watercolour, and we just straight on with the watercolour, and we want all this uneven paintwork here, so you can just be wild with your watercolour, which sometimes you're really not, or you get all strict with watercolour and stuff. So this is Fauvism. This is an unlined one, which you, if you do some investigation, some is without lines, and this is the very dotty type. It goes into a bit of pointillism, and this is the one with the lines there. Okay, so that's Fauvism. And yeah, have a go and have an experiment. I love this art movement. It's great, it's free. If you don't want to get hung up in seriousness, you can just have a go at this, and it's great good fun. And if you haven't already entered or submitted a picture for the Face of the Studio, which is the ongoing project at the moment, the end date is the 31st of May. And we'd love to see your some submissions, some entries. I've had lots already. Make sure there's text involved with the picture, or added onto the picture, or included separately to the picture when you submit your paintings at the Studio Witness Facebook, the Instagram, or via email. And you can do a Fauvism type one. So if you look at Henri Matisse, one of his self-portraits was Fauvist style, and so I had a little play around. So yeah, Fauvism can even come into self-portrait. So have a go at Fauvism and have a go at a self-portrait. We'd love to see them. Take a photograph of them all, send them in, and yeah, we'd love to see your submissions. Have fun. Bye.